My name is Gurmeen Kaur. Today we will be discussing about Parajumbles. Now before we start, what are Parajumbles? There is a paragraph. Paragraph is made up of sentences. Now if those sentences are not in sequence, that means they are jumbled. Therefore, we call them Parajumbles. How many of us do understand Parajumbles? We have a lot of queries from the students who say, ma'am, we don't know how to go ahead with Parajumbles. We don't understand how it should be done. So, before we go ahead into concept of Parajumbles, let's see what are the types of Parajumbles. There's type 1 and then there is type 2. Now, the things that I'm going to share today are general for your understanding. Type 1 consists of parajumble questions which have various points. For example, they have given A, B, C, D, E, right? Different sentences. All those sentences are not in sequence, which means you would have to put all those sentences into sequence. Now, if I have A, B, C, D, E, F, they are written as A, B, C, D, F, but they're not in sequence. So, we need to put them in sequence and present it forward. Why? Because out of these, you would be getting questions. There may be 5 questions of 5 marks each. Now, this is general, it may depend. There may be 5 questions of 5 marks each. What they may ask is, you are given sentences A, B, C, D, E, F. Now, you need to share with them which sentence which will come on the 5th place, which sentence will come on 2nd place, which will come at last. At last, you will get to know details, of course, but we need to be very sure of the sentences which will come on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th place. Now, each question, as I said, would be asking the same, and each question would carry 1 mark. Now, generally, these kind of parajumbles come in banking exams. All right. So, let's go on to type 2. If we talk about type 2, in type 2, generally you are given opening and the closing sentence. You're given opening and the closing sentence. Then, what do we need to do? You will be given certain sentences in between those opening and closing sentences which are actually jumbled up. So, what you need to do is, you need to put them in sequence. Only these 4 sentences, which are the sentences between opening and closing sentences. Now, in these kind of parajumbles, the questions which come are, you are given 1, 2, 3, 4. They may give you an option. The answer is PQRS. Or they may give you an option QPRS. Or they may give you rest of the options. So, the point is, the options will be like these. You would need to answer them that according to the sequence that you made, which one is correct out of these. Alright, I hope we've understood till now. Now, the question which comes in everyone's mind is, okay, I understood type 1, I understood type 2, I understood we need to go ahead like this, I understand these kind of questions come, but how do I solve them? That is the main question that comes to each student's mind. So, I'll give you certain details for your understanding. Alright, so let's move ahead. Now, first of all, if I have to solve a parajumble, I need to look at the opening sentence. Of course, if you don't know the opening sentence, how will you move forward? So, opening sentence How do I find the opening sentence? That's the first question. Opening sentence, we need to find a sentence which is independent. Independent itself means which is not dependent on anything else. So we need to find an independent sentence. Now what is the independent sentence? Further hand, the sentence would have nouns. We need to find the noun. Now the question which comes here is, some of the students actually say that, if we start with he, if we start with she, how can that not come as a first sentence? Like if I ask you, he is coming. So you will say, who is coming? The question will come is, who is coming? So generally the sentence which has noun that comes first before pronoun, because pronoun itself takes the place of a noun. Alright, so we'll look at noun. Now if I've looked at noun, for example, there are 2 to 3. We need to look at which is the subject on which we are talking, on which we are discussing. And then we need to look at the introductory sentence, which introduces a subject. So this would be the first part, all right, the initial part. Moving on further, comes the central part. Central part means first and last sentence. Now the central part, wherever you have moreover, wherever you have yet, but, nonetheless, words like these generally come in the central sentences. Moreover, yet, but, nonetheless, these are few of the words that I'm sharing with you. There are various other words as well. So just for your understanding, I'm putting forward these words in front of you. Alright, so generally these words, whenever we have these kind of words, these are the central sentences. Now, what about the final sentences, as in closing sentences? Now generally what do we say when we are finalizing something? At last, hence, in conclusion. So wherever we have these words, generally you will get to the final sentences. I hope you've understood the details as of now. So when sometimes it happens that we don't understand the first part, we've gone through all this, we don't understand which is the first sentence, we don't understand which is the middle sentence, we don't understand which is the last sentence. I mean, we're trying our best, we are not able to understand which sentence should come first and which sentence should come in the second. There we can use logical pairing. Logical pairing. So logical pairing, for example, I have A, B, C, D, E and F. Alright. First of all, we need to look at the noun and pronoun. Example. I have Dr. Manmohan Singh here and I have he here. So I will be joining A and E. A, E. Next, any statement plus example. For example, I have another economist and F has an example regarding another economist. So I will have C and F. Last, we will add subject plus the introductory sentence. Subject plus introductory sentence. Example, we are talking about economy. Okay, and this introduces economy. So, my pairing would be B and D. Okay, now, ma'am, we've done something of the sort. Now, what do we do? Now, the sequence will fall like this. First of all, we'll go ahead with subject and introductory sentence, which is BD. Then we'll go with the first one, which is noun and pronoun, which is AE. Then we'll go with for statement and the example, which is CF. I hope we've understood certain details as of now. I hope we've got the details as of now. So, now let's look at further examples. There are various examples which will help you on understanding the same. So first, let's recapitulate. I started with, first we need to look at the introductory sentence, the independent sentence, then we need to look at the noun, then we need to look at the subject, and then further on we need to look at the sentence which is introducing the subject. Then we talk about the central part. The central part will have words like, if it has words like moreover, nonetheless, yet, but, etc., then those sentences will come in the central part. If it is talking about end, we talk about hence, then we talk about in conclusion. So those would be the end parts. If we are not going to get, if we don't actually get any details from the same, we are not able to get which is the first sentence, which is the middle sentence, then we go for the logical pairing as I shared with you. The first one we need to look at noun and pronoun, the pairing of the same, then the statement and the example, then further on the subject and introductory sentence. Then if we talk about how to arrange them, subject plus introductory sentence comes first, thereafter noun pronoun, and then statement and example. Alright, so the example is, we will look into the example which is having an opening and closing statement. Now here the statement 1 says, Calcutta, unlike other cities, kept its trams. And the statement 6 says, which is the closing statement, it says, foundation stone was laid in 1972. Now, we need to look at sentences P, Q, R, S. We need to put them in sequence. Now, what do we do? How do we go ahead with it? Let's look at the first opening statement. Calcutta, unlike other cities, kept its trams. Look at other sentences. As a result, there was horrendous congestion. It was going to be first in South Asia. They run down the center of the road. To ease in the city, decided to build an underground railway line. So basically what they're talking about is the trams. So Calcutta, unlike other cities, kept its trams. If I look at all these sentences, I look at this one. They run down the center of the road. So they, what? The trams. So they run down the center of the road. Let's keep it as R. Now, they run down the center of the road. As a result, there was horrendous congestion. If something is in there in the middle of the road, what will happen? Congestion. Congestion means the traffic is heavy and it would be very difficult to move further ahead. Horrendous congestion. So what is it further on going with? It is linking itself with the trams. So they run down the center of the road. As a result, what happens? As a result, there was horrendous congestion. So I get into P. Now, we've got the result. There was a lot of congestion. Now what? It was going to be the first in South Asia. What was going to be first in South Asia? To ease in the city, decided to build the underground railway line. What did we work upon here? There was a lot of horrendous congestion. What they're saying further hand is to ease it. The city decided to build an underground railway line. Therefore, RPS. And then it was going to be the first in South Asia, which is Q. So our answer is RPSQ. We've got an opening statement, we've got a closing statement, and between those opening and closing statement, we've been able to put a sequence to these sentences. Now, very important for all of you to understand, as I've already shared with you, that you would be given in certain options which would be like PQRS, or they may give you RQSP. So there may be 4 options. You need to look at those 4 options and then see which sequence suits the best. If you're not able to go through those sequences, you can always go ahead with the logical pairing as we have discussed. Alright, let's move on to another example for your reference. Again, these are general examples which will help you in understanding the same. The example says, moreover, salary in government sector is lesser than private sector. Now, I shared with you the sentences which have moreover, which have nonetheless, etc. generally do not come on in the first sentences. Then, government sector has been experiencing challenges in motivating, retaining their staff. If you look at this sentence, this is an independent sentence, which is saying that the government sector, it is having certain challenges, experiencing certain challenges in motivating and retaining their staff. So let's keep it as B. Okay. Now they are having challenges in motivating their staff. Now what is happening for them? One reason is employees are lured by private firms. Okay. This trend should be wake-up call for government sector. Alright. Employees having experience especially are difficult to retain. Now, they are saying the government sector is experiencing challenges in motivating, retaining their staff. We are talking about staff. We are talking about employees. So further on, if we look at E is saying that employees which have experience, they are especially difficult to retain, staff and employees. So therefore, we look at E. Alright. Now, having identified these as reason, it is important to empower the stakeholder. If you see that this does not have much connect with this very sentence here. Alright. So, this trend should be wake-up call for government sector as to why employees are seeking better opportunities with private firms. One reason is employees are lured by private firms. Now, if you look at it, they're saying employees having experiences especially are difficult to retain. Now, this has become a trend, right? So, this trend should be wake-up call for government sector as to why employees are seeking better opportunity with private firms. So this would be D. Now if you look at D, there is a word why here. Why? So this is saying one reason is employees are lured by private firms. So why? Because the reason is the employees are lured by private firms. And now we come to the sentence which are left. Moreover, salary in government sector is lesser than private sector. Okay. Having identified these as reason, that means we have more reasons. It is important to empower the stakeholder. So if I look at it, there is another reason. Moreover, salary in government sector is lesser than private sector. So, it will be A. So, moreover, when do we add moreover? When we have certain extra point or extra details than what has already been shared. So, moreover, salary in government sector is lesser than private sector. Now, if we look at it, having identified these as a reason, it is important to empower the stakeholder. So, we'll go in for F. So, if I look at it, let's put that into sequence for your understanding. First one is B. Government sector has been experiencing challenges in motivating, retaining their staff. E. Employees, their staff, employees having experience especially are difficult to retain. Especially are difficult to retain. We're talking about motivating and retaining, and employees having experience especially are difficult to retain. D. Now this trend should be wake up call for government sector as to why employees are seeking better opportunity with private firms. Now if I look at it, it's why here. Why? The reason is employees are lured by private firms. Then further on, I have these reasons. There's another one which says moreover, as I said, it's additional information. Moreover, salary in government sector is lesser than private sector. This is also one of the reasons that the employees are not going much into government sector, or the government sector is not able to retain or motivate them to stay further hand. That is why, having identified these as reasons, basically it is important to empower the stakeholders. So these were certain examples that I wanted to share with you. I hope you've understood some of the concepts of Parajumbles. They're not very easy, yet they're not very tough. You just need to understand further hand and then put the sentences into sequence. If you're not able to do it, please use logical pairing. Hope you've understood the details. Thank you so much. My name is Gurmeet Kaur.